So, without further ado, I am so thrilled and honored and stoked the appropriate word, to be speaking with the one and only Jeff Scroggins of Sotheby's International Realty in Breckenridge, or more fondly known as Breck, Colorado. Jeff, thank you so much for taking the time. How are you doing on this, of course, in the middle of the season, right in the middle of the season for you, Tuesday, end of January?
I'm doing great. Thank you for the opportunity to chat. Things are good. I'm a glass is half full person. Our snow right now is leaner than it's been in years. But man, even on a bad snow year, life is good in Breckenridge. Not gonna complain.
That's well said. And one of the things that I find so magnificent about not only luxury realtors in general that work in the true ski towns, but further the top luxury realtors and brokers, if you will, that work in the true ski towns. And I'll get into what because this statement and then the loaded question have a point. Is any great luxury realtor or broker is selling a lifestyle. It's not just selling, it's selling a lifestyle. And thus when it comes to true ski town. True ski town, by that I mean obviously your Breckenridge, your Park City, your Aspen, your Sun Valley, etc. Even those that are very close to each other, vastly different in the lifestyle that they have. A Vale is vastly different than Breck.
For
100%.
sure.
100%. Still, you still have the caliber of luxury real estate. You still have a certain caliber of life, but it's a whole different vibe. And so you're selling that type of lifestyle. Like literally the first time that I saw you in, of course, it was a great luxury brand, but I just knew I haven't spent a lot of time in Breck. I've done Telluride, I've done Sun Valley, I've done Aspen, and each one, but I know of Breck. And I just knew by seeing that, I was like, I want to work with that guy. And I just know he emanates what Breck is, right? I wouldn't expect nothing against you, Vale, but I wouldn't expect to see you rock and Vale. You just don't
Right.
like me as the Vale guy. Yeah.
Well, I love to think that I would never poo-poo another one of our resorts. I am a big believer in the resort world and resort lifestyle is so
Absolutely.
unique. And it's unique in a way that the rest of the world wants to experience it, right?
Yeah.
So why would I poop on any resort market, right?
Yeah. That's exactly right.
Every resort market has its own unique characteristics.
That's exactly
To
right. And so
paint with
it's
it
steering someone to the right market that even if you're speaking to them, it might not be for them and vice versa.
exactly, and I think for the general public, I think it's good for us to help people remember that it's all, in my opinion, it's the same experience. It just depends on the unique characteristics of your experience, right? Because our resort markets, especially in the mountains of the Rockies or Colorado, let's speak specifically to Colorado,
Yeah.
you know, in Aspen, in Vail, in Breckenridge, in Winter Park, you get epic skiing at all the places for the people that love winter. And for the people that love summer, you get epic summer temperatures and fall colors that you don't get in Texas and Georgia and Florida and these other places where it's a gazillion degrees, and we're going, oh man, it's hot. It's 82 degrees and we don't have AC, right? It's first world problems if we're really honest about it.
Oh, and it's
But
also to that point, I think it's always so important to touch upon, especially for those that are considering the ski town life, whether it's as a primary residence or a second, third, whatever it might be, is I'll never forget. And because I laughed at the statement at the time when when I permanently relocated at the time to Aspen. And this woman who became a dear friend of mine and actually worked for Elevated for a while, she had said to me, she said, "Oh, just you wait. You come for the winter and the snow, but
stay
you
for the
stay for the
summer.
summer." And I remember
Yeah.
looking at her and thinking, I was, younger, different person, but I remember thinking like that is one of the most asinine things I've ever heard. I was, snowboarding and stuff. But then that first day that summer magically happened,
Oh,
You come out of spring season, and it was like nothing. The sky was bluer than anything I've ever seen. And I know that's
yeah.
it's like that in each of the ski towns. It's mesmerizing.
It is. It's otherworldly, and even to the point that, I don't care whether you're on a faith spectrum or you're atheist, right? It doesn't matter where you are.
Yeah.
There is something about our resort communities, not only in the winter, but summertime specifically, that all of a sudden you're like, there's something bigger than me going on in this world
So well
because
said.
it
Yeah.
is so epic. It is so it touches your soul as a human being in a way that nothing else does. And I still get goosebumps about it. And I've been in Summit County, Breckenridge for a long time, but it still makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up when I think about the experience, the beauty, the wonder of it all, right? There's still mystery in this world that is so beautiful. And there are places in this world that, I mean, we all have to feed our families, right? We're either feeding ourselves, we're feeding our families, we're supporting whatever it is in life. But there are spaces in this world, I'm a big believer, that allow us to see the wonder of the world.
Yeah.
And I think our resort communities, Breckenridge, even, specifically, if we're going to talk about Breck, there's something about it that just makes you realize the world is much bigger than we think, than our little personal little bubble we create for ourselves. And hopefully, in the best of that, it makes us realize the world is bigger and we're not that different from our neighbors. And there's so much more to this space than just being caught up in our own heads.
That was so very well said. Thank you for that. And I knew going into this conversation with you, even though this is the first time that we've actually spoken, and I hope we're able to do these many more of these. But I just knew that because you're you're a rarity and that you even give that off in your email, and most people don't. And I work in, obviously in my industry and in yours. You can just because I work with some people that they're fantastic in person, but then they send an email and it's like, oh, you're the worst person to find. But saying what I'm getting at those, that was so well said. And whether you want to call it the universe or whatever you want to call it, there are certain places, and everyone hopefully has their own magic place, whether it's a ski
Yeah.
town or beach town, whatever, to each his own. But hopefully someone at least has their special place. I think it's one of the most important things in life. That being said, and yes, slid the comment in. Of course, this is very much about Breck. This conversation, it is at the top of my list of the next ski town that I do want to do because I've done my research and it just it's just a really special place. And I'm glad that I haven't made it there yet because the younger version of me would have made it, so that I probably wouldn't be allowed back. So I get to go at the right times in my life. But it's and what's great is I've read your story. It's interesting. You used to do you've done a number of great things successfully, which also lends to being a very successful and well-rounded luxury realtor. Is I just picked up yesterday one of my favorite photographer is David Yarrow. You can see the canvas behind me, and I saw you
Yeah.
do a lot of photography, and that I would think also further opens your personal lens when you're living in say Breck and just looking at it. But I got his book yesterday. I'll have to send you a copy.
Okay, great. I'll accept that. Thank you.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
amazing! It's amazing. Go ahead.
life allows us perspective, right? And I'm at a stage of life right now that I feel more confident. To give some context, I was the unhealthy creative in my 20s, which meant I wanted to create my masterpiece and I just expected everyone to pay for it. But over time, I've been very fortunate that I've had great mentors. I've also had some really good life experiences. I wouldn't say all the life experiences were rainbows and unicorns by any stretch. There were definitely some dark chasms at moments, but I'm grateful for all that because where I am now in life, I really believe is the culmination of everything I've done. To your point, yeah, I was a photographer for the better part of I was a professional photographer feeding my family and making a living for the better part of 13 years. That's what originally got me to Breckenridge.
That's fantastic.
I used to travel North America and the world for luxury hospitality brands and energy companies. And I didn't have work in Colorado, but I'd be on the road for 2 weeks, home 3 or 4 weeks. And my wife and I decided Breckenridge is a great backyard. This is great. An hour and a half to the airport's close enough, which is very different from my friends that were getting on a plane every Monday morning and flying home every Thursday. If that was my lifestyle, then odds are I probably would have, lived right next to an airport.
Yeah.
But we were very fortunate that that was our lifestyle. And I was I learned a lot from that experience. I learned a lot about luxury hospitality. I learned a lot about um, business being first and foremost. If you want something sustainable, it's got to be consumer centric or customer centric, right? You've got to build something that it's not about me. And believe me, when I was younger, it was about me. And even I have moments now, even as I would, my age says I'm supposed to be a grown ass adult, but at this stage of life, there are still moments where like, but I want to do X, but I think it really boils down to for sustainability, it's about how do we serve our clients well? And I feel very fortunate that I've had those experiences. And there was a moment in time and it just evolved out of that. So my world now in the luxury real estate world, I confidently say is truly a culmination of my past experiences.
Yeah. And when also must be taking all of that, and then when you are placing someone, whether it's a couple, a single, whatever, into their immersing them into this Narnia, if you will, or Never Never Land. That is, I mean, that's what, in my opinion, that's what the this living in the ski town that's meant for you. And in my opinion, everyone would at least just even try it once. Any ski,
Yeah.
but through ski town, it changes everything. Living in a snow globe, being Peter Pan, to
Mhm.
credit, it keeps you young at heart, and it's just, you're in that snow globe, and someone brings up the outer world, and it's like I don't care, I don't know, but but for you, when you when you have a that new couple, whether they're committing to wanting to live in Breck full time, or it's going to be their second or third place, and they decide that 127 Marks Lane, that beautiful listing you have there in Breckenridge, is the one. But it must be. I'll edit that out. It must be fantastic then to pair them with listings such as that, and further with the lifestyle that's meant for them, which is Breckenridge, and for that all to come together and just to experience that with them. It's one thing to put, I think, as a luxury realtor or broker, to put a new client into a great listing, but then further to match them with a lifestyle such as
Yeah.
Breck. It just that must be very
It's
rewarding, right?
it's very rewarding, it's very fulfilling, right? And it is you touched on it multiple ways. I'm of the opinion the win is when we help others succeed, right? And our clientele that we get to work with, everyone has a unique goal, right? Using the extremes. One side of the spectrum may be, hey, we've worked our butts off our whole life and we just want a destination where we can go retreat. And then on the other spectrum, you have people, we want to make memories, right? Hey, we now have adult children, we have grandkids, and we want to create a space where we can gather collaboratively as a family or with our peers, which sometimes is more family than our immediate family, right?
Yeah.
But we want to create a space, or we want a space that everyone comes together and we create memories. It's unique to every client we get to work with. And I'm of the opinion that if I'm helping them achieve their unique goals and objectives, and we can meet those goals, then we're all winning, right? Because life's short. How do we help people to meet those goals in the life we have on this planet and just do something more than we could for ourselves? It's how do we collaboratively help them achieve their goals? Because it's never just Jeff saying, "Hey, this is the house for you." It really is, tell me what's unique to you and what your unique goals and objectives are, and then let me help you navigate that path to find the right thing. And then it is fulfilling because they're excited. But even more fulfilling to me is we're a year after they've purchased the property and they're in town and they want to have coffee or they want to grab a beer and we catch up and hearing the stories of how it's more than just a property,
Yeah.
right? A property is a structure is a structure is a structure. It's going to be here, odds are, well after we're gone off this planet.
Yeah.
That property is still there. It's more about the experiences and hearing about their experiences and how they're thriving, the connections that take place.
Yeah.
I had, we had a client the other day that shared with me that, I've got my college buddies that I haven't seen in 20 years, and we were always so close, and we kind of keep those Facebook connections, which really aren't connections anymore, right? It's just like, oh, I see they posted something. But he was like, hey, I got this place and I invited everyone out, and oh my gosh, it was so fulfilling because we hear everyone's highs and lows and we realize we're all still wanting to do this life together.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that's a win. I'm secondary to it, but we help them achieve their goals. So I don't know. I get a lot of fulfillment out of that.
And often, to even take a slight step further, you've touched upon it. Yet you often are in that very, very fortunate position where it's you know whichever listing it might be, or even if it's a listing where they're going to build. You have that one on Copper, on the side of Copper. I think it's the last one.
Yeah.
To build their dream home, if they are endeavored so to take
For
that.
for those that want to build a house, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a
But
whole nother personality.
whatever it might be is you end up tying them into something that is really almost unexplainable, that they don't even know they're looking for, I guess is the best way to put it. You know what I mean?
I think
And,
that's
and
fair.
it's
Yeah.
something that you end up finding in a magical place, such as a Breck. And
Yeah.
that is, it just has to be one of the most beautiful, fulfilling, and rewarding. I mean, I don't even, I I find it hard pressed to find what you do even a job. I think it's a dream to be able to do that for people, to really to place it, especially in a place like and it's not to say that there are magical beach towns or magical islands. I've lived in many of them, but in a place like a let me ask you. I saw that you discovered Breck in Summit County back in the day, and then you left for a bit, right? You and your wife left for
Mhm.
a bit. What was it
Yeah.
like for you during that time you left?
You know, that's a great question. Thank you for asking. A lot of people don't ask, so I'll try to keep it short. Um, I had spent up to that point, I'd spent all this time building my first real business, and it had been thriving. And the economy tanked, right? 08, 09, and we lived in a state where I didn't have any work. My work was elsewhere across North America. And we ended up choosing to go to the Dallas Fort Worth market because I had clients there. And we go to Texas and our friends in Colorado that we had built community with and let's call it family. It was essentially family.
Yeah.
They would ask, "How do you like Texas?" And my answer was, "I love the people. The people there are fantastic.
Mhm.
The food there is at a whole nother level
Yeah.
compared to Colorado." Business opportunities. Being in Dallas Fort Worth, there are so many corporate hubs there, right? Business opportunities were off the charts. But my negative was we swapped 7 months of snow for 7 months of living on the surface of the sun, and I quickly realized, oh my gosh, it is so hot. I sweat when it's 55 degrees. So I was always sweaty, living in Texas. But that was a great experience for me. because I had to start over. And a lot of people in this world started over at that time,
Yeah,
right? Because it was
absolutely.
just
Yeah.
that was that once in a lifetime
And
change.
for many it was a gift, just as COVID was on a certain level,
Correct.
especially in your
Yeah.
industry, especially in your industry.
It was a gift. At the moment, I would love to say I was mature enough to see it as a gift. It took time for me to see it as a gift.
Yeah.
Um, but it also gave me perspective that when we got back here and I got into real estate and I started meeting folks who were like, we think it's time to find a place in Colorado. And I'd find out they were from Texas or Florida or parts of our country that summers are miserable, right? It's 100 degrees
Yeah.
and humid. And it gave me more context to understand what they were wanting a reprieve from,
Mhm.
right? They were just like, it come June, it's 100 degrees, and
Yeah.
it's 100 degrees through October, depending on the specific year.
Yeah.
And they're looking for a place where they can go and get away from the heat and find a place where they can, in some cases, it's find a place where can we recenter with our family?
Yeah.
Where can we find a neutral place that we enjoy the beauty of just the outdoors, life, and have experiences together that are just kind of those once in a lifetime experiences.
Yeah.
And that experience in Texas was really good for me to be able to understand where people are coming from. So I feel very fortunate for it. Like I said before, I was the unhealthy creative, and the unhealthy creative life change flips upside down on you, and you think the world's coming to an end,
Well, it's
but
all about you.
the world's not, right? Because it's all about us. But in hindsight, it's not. It's about how do we keep moving forward? How do we grow from our experiences? And so I feel very fortunate for those experiences even though at the moment maybe I didn't feel as fortunate.
No, of course not. At the moment, it's like I've had those moments, having to leave somewhere, especially a ski town, and
Yeah.
I was much not mature in so many different ways, and so it's like being the most spoiled child on the planet. And with that
Yeah,
being said,
so true.
you answered it so well though. Is it was so to me, because again, I think living in a place that we love and are literally in love with the way that we are with, say, that's your wife or that special someone in your life. That I think is one of the most important things we can have, like to literally love a place so much that it's like your partner.
Yeah.
And so then when that does get taken away, it's so excruciating. It is a great life lesson. And then you
Yeah.
realize, well, do kind of the same analogy with that age old analogy will set someone free, and if they come back, the same thing with the town.
Yeah.
Is, well, do I really love it so much that I do want to back? And look at you. You not only made your way back to Breck in Summit County, but further took it to a whole another level, with respect to how you're living it and how you're giving the gift of living in one of the most magical places on the planet to people via what you do for your job.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right.
Yeah.
I am very fortunate and always I'm at a stage of life that I want to be grateful. I mean, we all have our moments where we go in our little holes in our head, right? And we
Absolutely.
can wallow. But I was just sharing that with my colleagues. I had that moment last night. Something happened and I was in that little moment where I could downward spiral on this.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I have to remind myself there's a lot of opportunity still ahead of us, and there's always going to be hiccups and we learn from it. We keep moving forward. And I'm grateful for those opportunities.
So well said once again, my friend. You're, I can't wait till I do make it up to Breck and get to buy you a coffee and discuss the David Yarrow book and see some of the listings. But no, all so well said. And it's in those moments too. It's so much easier. It's almost as though the universe, or whatever you want to call it, it's almost like a little test. It's because it's so easy to put our little spoiled child pants on and stomp around and woe is me. It's easy to do that. It's easy to say woe is me. Oh, it's so unfair. It's so unfair. But then you take a deep breath and it's like, Yeah, it's this so unfair. For me living where
Yeah.
I live, I can't complain. I have no right to complain about it. You really gonna look around and have a pity party in Breck?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let me play the smallest violin ever, please.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it's so powerful to remind ourselves of that. And again, as you said, we all go through it. And then segue. So it's where you, being Jeff Scroggins of Sotheby's International Realty in Breckenridge, Colorado, Breck, is you're about to have one of those pity parties. Now, depending on what time of the day, far and few between, if it's in the morning and you know you need to push away that pity party, where in Breck does a local that knows Breck inside and out, where do they go in the morning versus where would let's say it's about this time of the day, so it's 4 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon in Breck, right in the middle of a fantastic ski snowboard season, whatever your flavor. Which are the two in Breck right now? If I got off a plane right now in Breck and then versus tomorrow morning when I wake up, what are your two choice places for the mood you're in right now with that big smile on
right. For that mood I'm in, on an average, I'm going to use average, right? I mentioned before that we are in a lean snow year.
your face? Yeah.
Um, but on an average year in the morning, I'm gonna go make some turns, right? My complaints are first world complaints. Let's preface with that, right? From my office, it's about a maybe a 2 block walk, not 2 city blocks, but a two
Nice.
block walk to the gondola,
I
right?
know.
I'm
I know the
rubbing that
drill.
in.
I know.
So, in the morning, let's go make some turns. Or if I'm busy with work, it's going to be even a walk to the post office down Main Street, right? Let's go check the mail because from there I get to see the beauty of the mountains that are surrounding me. My better half, when my kids were still at home, I've got big kids now, but when they were still at home, she would always say, "Have you looked up today?" And I think that is such a good reminder. It doesn't matter
Absolutely.
where we are, because we can get so self-consumed with whatever the world or work or life has
Yeah.
in front of us that it's good to hit that pause button and look up and look around. And then in our backyard, looking up is, oh my gosh, these mountains are massive. This
But it
place
is
is gorgeous, you
absolutely,
know?
but that is such a valid and important statement. I mean, when I used to live in whether it be Santa Barbara or Laguna Beach, I would think
Yep,
to
look out.
be at the time, it would you could sit and look, and because I would
Yeah.
make it a point to be at if I'm living in a place, I got to be if it's a beach place, got to be at the beach for a moment. But you
Yes.
realize you could look at it and realize that most of the people living in this area do not go to this beach, maybe even once a month. And
Oh
that
yeah.
and sadly enough, or whether you're living on the side of the Delaware in Pennsylvania and the magic
Mhm.
there and people not doing it, and people living in a ski town off it, because people get so consumed and caught up in what they're doing, they don't even realize to look up, to be Peter
Yeah.
Pan, to look up and say to Wendy, second star on the right, we fly till morning, and forgetting that you're not only is Never Never Land there, but that you're living in it. And
Right.
in all
And
its
I think
simplicity, just look up. Yeah.
and I think that's so human of us, right? Because we can all get trapped in our own heads or we get trapped in just life, right? And I get it. I've been there. We all have those moments of we got to keep a roof over our head, we keep food on the table, we got to take care of the kids, we've got our spouse, or we've got commitments, right? That we're obligated to. And it's really easy to get down the path and realize I haven't looked up or I haven't looked out in a while. And I think my takeaway is how do I remind myself, or can I remind myself on a daily or every other day or a regular basis? Have I looked up? So, in my world, back to your original question, in the morning, I'd like to think I'd go skiing, in the winter. In the summer, it's like, what's going on? I'm going to go for a bike ride. I love to mountain
Oh,
bike.
the bike
You
riding,
know,
yeah. Even if
it
it's just
is,
riding a beach cruise around the ski town, it's fantastic. Yeah.
yes, it is spectacular. So that would be that first half of the day. This time of day, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, depending on the day, there's a lot of asterisks, right? Maybe it's happy hour. And, we have a lot of watering holes that are spectacular. Breckenridge has grown up a lot since I originally moved here. When I first moved here, our dining establishment was a pizza joints and burger joints.
Right. Yeah.
You know, which is great when you're on vacation because you just need carbs because you've been skiing all day. But since then, now we have James Beard awarded restaurant. We have the spectrum of dining establishments, and my kids like to remind me that I'm a foodie. I mean, I like food. I mean, a lot of us like food, but I've become more of a foodie, and I feel very fortunate that we have some great places. On top of that, we have great watering holes. So, hitting those is great. Sometimes it's just I've been working all day. Let's just go walk down the rec path, which follows the Blue River through town. Again, it's just, I want to be outside, go for a walk. Let's just enjoy what's around us. So, again, it goes back to my statement of our problems are first world problems, right?
Yeah.
I used to tell my kids, I'm like, yeah, I know you may feel like life is hard, but back to what we said, look up, look around. This is your
Yeah. Look
backyard.
up. And another line I like is Penelope Cruz is saying to Tom Cruise and that relatively abstract but beautiful, unique movie, Vanilla Sky. There's a scene where
Yeah.
she's just saying over and over, "Open your eyes." She's got
Yes.
a much more beautiful, sexy, perfect voice than mine, but it's in all its simplicity. It is, and then he finally opens his eyes to a whole new, different version of life. And
Yeah.
but it is that. Just look up. Just open your eyes and just realize what it is. Be humble and grateful because you never know when it might just slip away in the blink of an eye. Whatever it might be, whatever it
Yeah.
might
Right.
be. And you just gave me something to think about, and plenty of time because we're just about at the beginning of February. Is I know you're going to have a beautiful listing, whichever it might be, on the cover of the spring issue of Elevated Luxury Real Estate. Something else to think about, perhaps, is along with that is perhaps we have a cover, one of the other titles, where it's more of a lifestyle, a beautiful lifestyle image of selling the lifestyle that is Breckenridge, selling
Hmm.
what that is, because that ultimately is that's the magic of and that's what I kind of alluded to in that one of those emails was that because I know that magic and I've been very fortunate and I'm very humble and grateful to have lived it and discovered it in moments of my life, and it's altered the course of my life, at different times, whether it was Telluride or Aspen or Sun Valley, you name it. It's and next it will be Breck, especially after this conversation. And I mean that. You just know. And
Yeah.
you can put on paper, because I haven't done Park City yet, haven't done Jackson Hole yet, and you can make cases for each and every one of them.
Right. They're
Then
all
you just
fantastic.
they're in their own right, yeah, absolutely. But then you just know, and so it will be Brad. We'll talk about it later. But yeah, let's think of a way to, and then also what I want to do is then kind of incorporate and bring all elements of the entire town into it, from the restaurants to the watering
Mhm.
holes to something to think about, and we can shoot that around when we speak again. And in trading emails, Jeff, the one and only Scroggins, Sotheby's International Realty, online, of course, at Luxury Real Estate Co. Very clever, is in Colorado.com. Jeff and Paige Johnson with LIV Sotheby's International Realty. Such a pleasure. Thank you so much, my friend. It's such an honor to be working with you and for you. And I hope that the rest of your day goes well. And I will send you a little note when your David Yarrow the collection has been delivered, which I think you will be very, very pleased with.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I've loved our conversation.
Yeah, me too. Thank you very much. Have a great evening, and I'll be talking to you soon, Jeff. Take care.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Bye bye.